Emra in the spring of 2022. Emra in the spring of 2022, and I am a member of our coordinator team. I'm joined today by my fellow coordinators, Ibrahim, Madupe, Philip, Sarah, Vi, Elsa, Shivam, Abi, Tarka, Fred, and Quinan, as well as some amazing general members, Jonathan, Cassandra, Miriam, Eduarda, Dariush, Joseph, and Anil. Before we get started, I would like to first cover some of the format of today's info session, as well as some ground rules. For the first 30 to 40 minutes, we'll be holding a Q&A session where we will be answering questions submitted to us using the link you see on the screen. Responses will be answered in the order they were submitted. However, we will be receiving questions in real time. So if a question comes to you during the event, please do not hesitate to send it in. During this time, the chat feature will be disabled, and we ask that you please mute your audio. We will not answer questions posted in the chat. If you do not get to your question in those 30 to 40 minutes, or you would like to ask a question directly to a coordinator or general member, you will have the opportunity to do so in the last 20 minutes when we'll be splitting out into breakout rooms. You're not required to enter a breakout room, so if you're satisfied with what you learned during the Q&A session today, feel free to leave. That concludes my little intro, so thank you for listening. And without further ado, we will go ahead and get started. So the first question is this program given a good opportunity for students with no experience or background in emergency medicine? And Abi will be answering the first question.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you all for coming out on a Friday evening. I know it's late and we really appreciate you coming out. So EMRA is the only organization to our knowledge that offers a full access to the emergency department. I like to call it a one-stop shop for all ED pre-med needs. So not only do we get access to the clinical research aspect, which includes screening on the ED track board, communicating with staff research associates, and watching consent processes, but we also get access to shadowing, mentorship aspects of the ED, and some case competitions, social issues, and so on. So if you're interested in emergency medicine or are considering it as a potential career path in the future, EMRA has every available opportunity that you could possibly ask for. And then if there's something that you still believe that the program doesn't have, one of the really nice aspects is the faculty members are open to implementing new parts of the program to enrich your experience. So we highly recommend applying if, emergency medicine is something for you.
Thanks, Abby. Our next question is, how is balancing responsibilities for EMRA with classes and extracurriculars? And Anil will be taking this question.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. So for that question, so what's mandatory in EMRA is a 1 4-hour clinical research shift and miscellaneous activities that are mandatory. But in terms of committees, we have several different committees, so feel free to ask questions related to that. But those are optional, but they're a great way to enrich yourself professionally and personally. And personally, I didn't find EMRA to be too challenging, but it's really important to be important of the 1 4-hour shift every week, and to be realizing that EMRA comes first and it is a strong priority. So as long as you are mindful of that, it's pretty solid to manage.
Yeah. Our next question is, to what extent will you be able to interact with patients one-on-one? And Dariush will be answering this question.
Thank you. So we've used to have studies in EMRA that you could actually interact one-on-one with patients. Right now, we also have studies still that you get to go down to the emergency department at Ronald Reagan Hospital and interact with the family members to actually help the patient and the medical staff in the registration process. And we will have studies in the future that again require a patient interaction with the family members, relatives, with the legally authoritative representatives, and in some cases even the patient. So yes, the program actually has at least study-wise, it has many opportunities for you to have that patient interaction that is required later to write down about in your personal statements or your applications for the graduate school.
Thanks, Dariush. Our next question is, can you talk more about what the EMRA community is like? Is it diverse, and how does it facilitate growth of EMRA members? And how do you expect the future of EMRAs to contribute to the community? And Fred will be answering this question.
Yeah, so there's a couple of questions here, and I'll go ahead and answer the first one where it's asking about like what is the Emra community like? And the way that I would describe it is like a very like warm, close-knit family, because that's what we are. There's only 40 of us. We all know each other on a first name basis. We could all mention like probably each provide like a short paragraph about, about another member within the community. Like we all get to know each other really well, and we're very diverse. We have people from all different types of walks of life. For example, we accept people who, either already graduated or in their gap year. We accept people from different institutions, so like, different schools, different undergrad schools. So we're very diverse. We accept a wide range of people. I would say is probably unparalleled by few pre-med organizations here at UCLA. And the next question was, how does it facilitate growth of Emra members? Yeah, we have many things, many opportunities for you to grow and develop. That's what we're here for. That's what Emra is. It's a place that allows you to develop. And we have many opportunities, and it's up to you to take them and utilize them. For example, you like research, you want to develop as a researcher, we have research committee. You want some mentorship, we have mentorship committee. You want some pre-med resources such as like MCATs, like step-by-step MCAT guides, step-by-step like how to apply for med school. We have all those things. We have many things. We have CV, resume workshops. We have a lot of things to facilitate your growth. And how do you expect future Emirates to contribute to the community? First and foremost, we expect you guys to, try your best, give it your all, give high quality work, perform your duties well. But another thing that we kind of like here at Emra, especially like going into the future, is like we want people who could like potentially like innovate, bring something new, bring their own twist, their own experiences to the program. That's something that we value a lot, something that we're looking for. So one of the many things we're looking for. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you, Fred. Our next question is, do you have to be in person during the summer, and how can out-of-state students participate? And Philip will be taking this one.
Yeah, so Emra is a program that runs year long. So members are actually responsible for summer, winter, and spring break shifts. We have a handful of state and even international students who are able to sort of double up during the summer so that they can actually still go home for half of the summer. So please do not let that deter you. I will note that for the spring cycle, you will need to stay during the summer because that's when your training actually happens. So make sure that if you're going to be applying and if you get in, that you have to stay during the summer.
Thanks, Philip. Our next question is, when can students expect to receive notification of acceptance? And Ibrahim will be answering this question.
So we will be announcing the results of our written up around the end of week 4, whereas for primaries, we'll be announcing the results around of week 5. And the final acceptances, the results of the secondary interview will be announced around beginning of week 7 usually.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Our next question is, what are you looking for in Emra applicants? And Sarah will be taking this one.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah. I'm one of the program leads. So the main thing that I would say we're looking for in Emra applicants are just people who are passionate and know what our program does. Passion is manifested in various ways. You don't have to be passionate about everything pre-med if you join our club. We like to see that you guys have other hobbies and other passions as well. So definitely don't be afraid in your application to talk about those. Mainly, we're just looking for someone who's willing to dedicate their time to the program, because Emra is one of those organizations where you really get as much as you put in.
Thanks, Sarah. Our next question is about how many students are admitted each cycle, and Quinnan will be taking this one.
Hi, everyone. I'm Quinnan. I'm one of the other program leads. So every cycle we take about 10 applicants. This isn't us trying to be selective or an exclusive group. As mentioned before, Emras get the really unique opportunity of being in the ED and witnessing traumas. And we also have access to patient records through Care Connect. And so because of that, there is a limited number of resources. And we do also have a very small but mighty team of faculty supporting us. And so just because of that, we do limit our cycle to around 10 applicants.
Thank you, Quinnan. Our next question is, can I join Emra if I have a learning disability like autism, ADHD, or OCD? And Gardish will be taking this question.
Thank you for this question. So As we have mentioned in our video that we sent out in our announcement, and also in the in previous information sessions, and hopefully in today's information session, you will gather information about what EMRAs will do and what are the minimum requirements of the program. So it is important that although EMRA is an accommodating program, that we will do anything within our power to accommodate your conditions, it is also important that you evaluate if your conditions can satisfy the minimum requirements that the program actually requires from each individual within our program to satisfy. It is important to remember that some of these requirements are set by the volunteer office, and although our program is accommodating of all the individuals, some of these requirements are actually set by the volunteer office. So it is recommended that you actually reach out to the volunteer office and discuss with them regarding your conditions and see if they have further accommodations that it can actually help you when joining our program.
Thanks, Dariush. Our next question is, what's the application consist of? How much of a time commitment should applicants expect? And Anil will be taking this one.
All right, so first we have our written application, which consists of, like Sarah was mentioning earlier, personal and professional experiences. And then the primary, and then we have a first round of interviews, which consists of the primary interviews and then secondary interviews. And essentially these interviews are there to test your skills and to really get to know you as a person, to ensure that you are willing to dedicate your time and really gain the most from EMRA.
Thanks, Anil. Our next question is, I am a UCLA Extension student with a BS from another institution. Am I still eligible to apply? And Fred will be answering this one.
Yeah, so yes, as long as you have transcripts to verify your education. And again, like another thing, we don't really look at GPA or consider like a big factor in the application. So don't worry, no worries about that. We solely just use it to verify that you are a student, that you have transcripts. And if, like I mentioned, we accept people in gap years, people who already have their bachelor's of science or whatever, the bachelor's in any major. You're welcome to apply.
Thank you, Fred. Our next question is, can the volunteer hour requirements be met if we volunteered at a hospital in another city? And Philip will be taking this question.
So you can't actually be at another hospital. It has to be UCLA Health, Ronald Reagan Hospital specifically. We've had people who have like bussed down from the Bay Area to do their shifts or do other things. Of course, we also have double shifting during the summer, so that you only have to stay for half the summer if that's something you're interested in doing. And we're very accommodating in terms of if your scheduling. As long as you make up all your shifts, you should be okay.
Thank you, Philip. Our next question is, do you have any preferred references such as professors, bosses, etc.? And what do you look for from our references? And Fred will be taking this one.
Yeah, so your reference can be from anyone, as long as it's not like a family member or like a friend. We just want someone who can speak on your character, such as things like your work ethic, how responsible you are, do you own up to your mistakes, you offer to correct them, things like that, just general things like that. And the better they know you, the better. So yeah.
Thank you, Fred. Our next question is, who would we need to contact to get our hours done by week 4? And Shivam will be taking this one.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shivam. I'm the head program lead for EMRA. I actually wanted to take a moment, kind of go back a few questions, if that's okay with you, Marcel, and add a little bit more information to Dariush's answer for if you can join EMRA if you have a learning disability. You absolutely can. It's not a situation we've really navigated before, so please reach out to us and also reach out to the volunteer office. So that's great guidance. Reach out to us too, please. And then we're going to kind of work with you to, just ensure that you're feeling comfortable applying and what steps we can take to help you through as an applicant. So just wanted to let you know our email's on our website, and I will also put it in our chat as soon as I'm done answering the question that Marcel just asked me. To reiterate, the question was, who do we need to contact to get our hours done by week 4? And that, I would say, is your supervisor for your UCLA Health opportunity. So If you're in care extenders, whoever your supervisor is, if you want to maybe, if you're kind of pushing to get them done by week 4, you probably would need to contact them. I don't think the volunteer office directly takes care of that. You're going to have to contact your supervisor. And you can have around week 4, 5, or 6 is going to be a good time. So if those 2 weeks help, take them, just get them done. You know, if you progress through the cycle, get them done before your secondary interview.
Thank you, Shivam. Our next question is, can you elaborate more on the note of new members being accepted and the UCLA Health Volunteer Office needing to clear all undergraduates to resume volunteering? And this is going back to Shivam.
Yeah, so UCLA Health, their volunteer office has to clear us because they give us access to Care Connect, and then they give us access to MedNet. So we have access to privileged information, like patients' health information, which is one of the, I think, one of the many responsibilities you get in this program, one of the privileges of being in this program. That's why we do that. It takes about, I'd say, over a month and around a month and a half to kind of go through that whole cycle once you're accepted. This is, again, a part of the reason that you have to really be here and available for EMRA right after you are accepted into the program. And with regards to resuming volunteering, that's a program-wide issue. So like care extenders, like they had their own guidance on that. You know, stroke team, like they're gonna have their own guidance. EMRA, we had our own guidance. So we had our own timeline when it came back to coming back into the UCLA hospital and then starting our volunteer responsibilities again.
Thanks, Shivam. Our next question is, how important is GPA when applying? And Quinan will be answering this one.
So EMRA actually does not consider GPA at all when looking through applications. We much more care about your passions and your past experiences. And so this isn't something that you have to worry about. I would just say be really authentic with your answers in our application and don't really worry about the numbers attached to it.
Thank you, Quinan. Our next question is, what time of day are the hospital shifts? Are they during work hours or can they fall outside of those? And Cassandra will be answering this one.
Yeah, so great question. EMRA shifts are 8 a.m. to midnight in 4-hour increments every single day, so weekends and weekdays. And you're able to choose your shift at the beginning of each quarter to really make sure that it fits your schedule, because again, being in the hospital is a privilege, so you really have to make it a priority to make your shifts. But I would say it's pretty flexible and you have a lot of options of when to schedule your shifts within those 4-hour increments, 8 a.m. to midnight. So you can kind of make any shift work if you're really restricted.
Thank you, Cassandra. Our next question is, can you provide a specific situation where you struggled the most with the program? How did you learn from it, or how did you overcome that problem? And Abhi will be taking this one.
Hey everyone, so I love this question because as one of the older members in EMRA, I've been reflecting on my time a lot here. And one of the biggest takeaways I've had is when you first join a new opportunity like EMRA, everything can be overwhelming. There's so many protocols to learn, so many people to meet, and so on. And specifically for me, when I first joined, I wasn't that active with the committees, especially with all the events that were going on. And I suggest you look into those events when applying because there's so many exciting parts. But then, you know, as you get a hang of things, you start to realize that this process is a microcosm of what happens in the real world. It's okay to feel out of place at first, and whether that's an EMRA or any opportunity you have, but as long as you're willing to put in the work and realize that you were placed there for a reason, you know, bringing it back to EMRA, 10 to 15 people chose you and wanted you in that position. And I'm sure it's like that for all other opportunities that you might have been placed in. Just as long as you're willing to put in the hard work and really, really take the time to learn, everything's going to be all right. I don't know who needed to hear that, and thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But once again, the main takeaway is it's as long as you give it a shot, it's always worth it. Many of us were re-applicants. Many of us were people who didn't think we were going to get in, and we just wanted our stories heard. And by being honest and talking about why this organization was so important for us, it worked out. So best of luck with the application process.
Thank you, Abhi. All right, our next question is, will we need a real letter of recommendation if we get into the program? And Ibrahim is going to be taking this one.
So we do not require full letter of recommendations. What we require is for you to have a reference ready for the written application. So what you'll put is their email and phone, their contact info, like email, phone number, and their name. We will reach out to them through email and we will ask them to fill a form about you. You need a minimum of 1 and you can submit up to 3 contacts.
Perfect. Thank you, Ibrahim. Our next question is, have you ever found yourself in any unsafe situations while volunteering in the ER? And Jonathan is going to be taking this one.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Personally, I have not found myself in an unsafe situation in the ER. However, training for EMRA involves knowing when you can observe a trauma case and when you shouldn't be observing, such as the case for our ABCT study. An example of this is when someone is getting a live X-ray and the rad tech calls a warning to let you know when to step out. The care team also makes sure to not put you in an unsafe environment or situation.
Thanks, Jonathan. Our next question is, are there any mental health related research or volunteer opportunities? And is it silly for a junior to apply? And Joseph is going to be taking this one.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out. So in terms of mental health related research, we actually have a lot of EMRs here who are pretty interested in mental health and psychiatry. And we actually have a study that investigates early adulthood suicide. So if you're interested in mental health, you will be able to have the opportunity to participate in that firsthand. And in terms of being a junior and applying, well, I got in as a junior and somebody else in my cohort got in as a senior. So it's definitely not a silly idea. We have some people who are even in their gap year right now. So please do not hesitate to apply to EMRA just because you are an upperclassman.
Thanks, Joseph. Okay, our next question is, how competitive is it to get into EMRA? And Sarah is going to be taking this one.
All right, yeah, so this question is an interesting one because I don't like to really use the word competitive to describe the application process for this org. I think it's harder to get into because we receive a large number of applications and we also have very limited resources. The reason we like to keep our program small, it's about around like 40 or 50 people right now, is because the ED supports us and the ED has limited resources. So obviously we can't accept an unlimited amount of people. I promise you though, if you put your heart into that application and you tell us truly that you want to be an EMRA and go into specifics of why you want to be in this organization, it will turn out fine. But yeah, not competitive, just difficult given the amount of resources we have.
Thank you, Sarah. Our next question is, how do housing logistics work for over the summer? And Tarka will be answering this question.
Hi, my name is Tarka and I'm one of the program leads. So EMRA does not formally facilitate summer housing. That being said, many members do find alternatives, whether that involves subletting in Westwood or taking on double shifts to finish during the first half or second half of summer.
Thanks, Tarka. Our next question is, if we were in a program involving the UCLA Health Volunteer Office and are still working on our minimum commitment, but really want to participate in EMRA, is it possible to leave or quit that previous program if we get accepted into this one? And are there any consequences from the volunteer office? And Shivam will be taking this question.
Hi, back again. And I would say that no, it's not advised that you leave your current commitment. Program hopping or going from one program to the next is the reason that there's this 50-hour commitment. You know, if you've joined that program, you have committed to it. We would like to see that you follow through there. And I think following through on your prior commitments is something that I'll just be frank, it's something we look for in our application, like in our applicants. So it's a good look on you too, to kind of follow through with the things that you kind of commit to. So I'd really recommend against that.
Thank you, Shivam. Our next question is, for the references, do they have to be related to STEM and do they have to be employers or can they be professors / TAs in any of the classes we have taken? And Fred is going to be answering this one.
Yeah, so for this one, no, they don't have to be STEM related at all. They can be from like in a professional setting, such as your employer, or they could be your professor, TA, it could be whatever. Just someone who could speak on your character, and as long as they can talk about like your honesty, your punctuality, dependability, things of that nature, and they know you well, that's what we like to see.
Thank you, Fred. Our next question is, for applicants with demanding schedules, would it be possible to fulfill training, clerical shifts, and hospital shifts all during the weekends? And Cassandra will be taking this one.
Yeah, so for new members, training does happen during your 4-hour shift. So you're not like adding another training shift on top of your 4-hour shift. And so as long as you are able to indicate on your availability form that you can work on the weekends or you can do your shifts on the weekends, that is considered like if you have like a job that you need to get to, or if you have very limited availability, our like coordinators do, or our program leads do take into account when assigning shifts to individuals. And for me, like when I was a student, I had a really busy schedule. And I was always able to get things done. And then now as a gap year student with a full-time job, I still like am able to work it around. And again, everyone's super accommodating, and yeah, takes your schedule into account when creating the shift schedule. So I don't think that's a worry unless like, but you just have to make sure that you're putting EMRA as a priority in your commitments.
Thanks, Cassandra. Our next question is, how has EMRA contributed to or helped inspire your professional and academic goals? And Ellen will be answering this one.
Hi, thank you so much for that awesome question. So professionally, we have the privilege of being in the ED when we're on shift or when we're shadowing. So we interact with a lot of the hospital staff, specifically emergency residents for a number of our studies. Because of this, there's a high level of professionalism you're expected to uphold that you learn almost immediately. And this is a skill that is helpful in any kind of environment, and it sets us up super well for the future. So I'm grateful to have been in this environment and develop that skill. And academically, we all as members support each other through the different resource banks that we have. We all have very similar majors. I know I've personally reached out to a lot of people who had similar majors to me and asked a bunch of questions. So you do get that support in that kind of way as well.
Thanks, Ellen. Our next question is, what do you think is the most important lesson you learned from your time with EMRA? And Fred will be answering this one.
Yeah, so I've learned a multitude of things, many things. But like the first thing that just happens to come to mind is like the thing that it's taught, that Emmer has taught me, is to like always have a growth mindset. There's always something you can learn. There's always something that you can develop on. There's always something you can practice. I came here, I realized, there's a lot of stuff I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I suck out. But the good news is that I can work on them. I can develop them. And luckily, we're here at Emmer very fortunate that we have a lot of resources and a lot of avenues/opportunities to help us practice and grow and develop. That's at the heart of Emmer. That's like, as I mentioned before, this is where we're here. We're here to help you develop, here to allow students to grow, allow you to, or prepare you for your future, for whatever you decide to do in the future. So yeah, that's the primary thing I've learned at Emmer, or one of them.
Thank you, Fred. Our next question is, in what ways has this program helped you? And what do you think was one of your biggest contributions back to the program? And Dariush will be taking this one.
So I can remember when I applied for the first time to the program, the only activity that I had in my resume was volunteering for about 3 months in a hospital, in a local hospital. So EMRA gave me many opportunities, amplitude of opportunities in research involving clinical research, involving in a team to work on a peer-reviewed research paper, working with different teams, getting a leadership experience, getting teamwork experience. And it's just so many different opportunities that it can definitely help you to build up that resume, build up the experiences that you want to talk about in your personal statement, in your essays for the graduate schools, and also in life, the skills that you want to further use in the future, and whatever school you're applying to in the future or in your life to make you successful. And biggest contributions, well, I believe that we don't have biggest contribution to this program. We have little contributions. Every member, every individual who's part of the EMRA family, they join different committees. They do little contributions through their work in different committees, and that little contributions actually come together to run the whole program and make our program one of the best pre-med organizations that there is at the UCLA.
Thank you, Dariush. Our next question is, what have you learned from Emra that you feel no college class could have taught you? And Quinan will be taking this question.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the Emra environment is super different than any classroom environment. And so I think like naturally just being on shift, being held like accountable to this huge team and to these clinical research projects are really different. But I would say for me personally, I think probably the biggest thing that I wouldn't have learned in a classroom at all is just like being able to coordinate such large projects with other people. So I would say on shift, you're working pretty independently. You have protocols and you're screening for patients, but within our committees, you really have the opportunity to start any kind of project as you see fit. And so it really gave me the opportunity to think about what I think could make the organization better and then work with other people to make that happen. And so I feel like not having a rubric to go by or any kind of grades that you have to go on really allows you to be creative and move things forward in a direction that you believe in.
Thank you, Quinan. And this is going to be one of our last questions. It says an application description. It states that there's references required. Is there a deadline for when references need to have any information or letter submitted by? And Ibrahim will be taking this question.
So there's no that there is a deadline to submit the references. We don't require letters. So the references, the contact information of the references, you have to submit them with your written application. So it will be a question in the written application, which will be due on the 21st. Please keep in mind, we don't require letters. We will only send an email to your contact and we will ask them to fill a form about you.
Thank you, Ibrahim. So that is all for our Q&A session of this information session. If you feel like your questions were answered, you are free to leave. But if you'd also like to ask questions from some of our program leads or general members, feel free to stick around and we will place you in breakout rooms. Thank you, guys.
Breakout rooms are now open. So if you would like to join one, you can join any of the 4 breakout rooms that we have.